Israel is amassing troops along the Gaza border, and we're just getting new satellite images of the devastation there in Gaza and southern Israel. The toll of days of explosions.
They are calling a ground incursion into Gaza. What that actually means, though, is that they have positioned tanks and artillery. That's
the terrorists of Hamas clearly intent on killing as many Israelis as possible. Critics point out also causing untold casualties among the citizens of Gaza.
Israel says it's massing troops on the border with Gaza and calling up thousands of reservists ahead of a possible ground invasion of the Hamas-ruled territory.
Israel versus Palestine. And I know that even saying that sentence means I'm losing followers online and
Welcome to Nicholas City Chronicles. Today I got a special guest from all the way to the other side of the world right now in Palestine, the border of Palestine. And he grew up in the Levant. This is Ali. And I just wanted to get him on here because of what's the current events of what's happening between Israel and Palestine. And the media kind of has their spin on things. So you don't really get the firsthand account of what's really happening over there. So I got Ali to come on today and tell people from his perspective what he's been seeing over there. So Ali, welcome.
Thank you for having me on.
So yeah, just tell the people over here what you're seeing and what's not being reported in the mainstream media, and like kind of just give tell us what's first-hand account what's happening over there.
What I understand is Israel is always victimized. It's always portrayed as the victim, and oh my gosh, the Israelis are defending himself and stand for Israel. And it's on this end of the world, it's completely the opposite. Like, Israel is the perpetrator. Israel is the one coming in and taking the land, and it doesn't take that much to get to that conclusion. Google will tell you that. If you go and just Google a little bit, and then you'll see who's the overpowered one, who's the one outnumbering, who's the one being backed by all these imperialistic powers, and who's the one who's the underdog, who's the one who literally had stones to throw as a way of resistance. And today, it's just they've reached a point where they went from throwing stones as a resistance to throwing rockets. But now it's a huge deal. Oh my gosh, rockets are falling on. I mean, back in the day, it was rockets. Oh, we're being victims. They're throwing rockets at us while they're throwing stones at us, and we're still bombing them, but they're throwing stones at us, and it's not. And literally, I think that was the whole rhetoric is. They're terrorists because they're throwing stones at us, and now they're terrorists because they're throwing rockets at us. No matter what,
Right?
They will portray that side as.
That's one thing about our media in the West is Islam is always portrayed as terrorists. Like they're all terrorists, but it's what blows my mind is the terrorists, whatever you want to call them, the people that actually do those things, are usually funded by some international funded group which is tied to the West itself. like ISIS was
They don't hide it.
yeah, like we know now from this is public information that Obama funded people, a Sunni tribe, I forgot what their name was, but they ended up becoming ISIS. They took the money, took the guns, took all the funding to fight against Assad in Syria, and they turned out to be even worse of a threat than Assad was.
So with the
So it was
additional
like,
steps I
whoops.
ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province. We're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes
So like
in
people
Anbar
blame
province.
Islam. You know what I mean? And if you,
And
just like I try to tell people, go find a Muslim person that lives near you and just talk to them. You'll see that they're like every other Christian or Jew, like devout Jew, devout Christian. They're just good people that, and the Quran tells people to live in peace with other people. So it's like you can't judge one person and blame it on an entire religion. If you had to do that, then you would have to do the same thing for the Catholic Church with all the pedophilia that's happening and all like the Spanish Inquisition that happened. If that's the case, under that same logic, every Christian is horrible. Every Christian's a pedophile. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's definitely not. Generalizing is never a good thing. And when it comes down to basics, humans just want the same thing. They want to live in peace, they want prosperity, and they want to die in peace. Nobody wants more than that. It's those imperialistic powers that always want to, I've heard certain scholars and philosophers say here, when a human being owns all of the world, what is he going to do? He's going to start looking up to the sky, and he wants to start invading that too,
Yep.
And it's that hunger for power, and it's sad.
Yeah, that state of always wanting more and never being satisfied. You see that with people on the top. You don't see that with people who are, practicing their faith. You see that with people who are trying to take over countries and trying to be billionaires and trillionaires and stuff like, you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, it's one thing to want to be a billionaire and trillionaire. It's another to want to enslave humanity, and that's an agenda that's out in the open. Go see for that Prince Philip who just died. Go see all these gazillionaires. What was it? Ted something from Texas. They all talk about we have to control the population. We have to depopulate. We have too many people. What the heck are you talking about? We have too many people. I mean, in the same breath, they tell you, we can fit the whole population of the earth in the state of Chicago. And, we have too many people. Look at America, man. Most of America is uninhabited almost. You know what I mean? It's all green. They want to shove people into these cities. And then they tell you, too many people, too many. It's unbelievable. I mean, you don't need to be a Muslim, a Christian. Just use the brain a little bit. Just watch what they say, and at the same time, use your own judgment. Is there too many people? Look around you. Stop just looking at the screen. Look outside. Are we too crowded? Are we, elbowing each other in order to find some space? It's not what it is. I've never went to the store and not found what I wanted to eat, and thank God. It doesn't make sense.
If anything, more people is creating more businesses and services and making life. The more people, the higher the population, the life gets actually easier because there's more opportunities. Always, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the whole idea of scarcity being. I'm an economic.
That's bullshit. Scarcity, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like the boogeyman.
Yeah, it really is bullshit. Like there really is. Like you can make more resources. You can build more. You can plant more trees. You can.
How much of America? Let's not talk about that. How much of America is not, agriculture-wise, is not used to plant stuff? How much does a family need in order to survive when it comes to food and planting stuff?
Oh yeah, America's so dumbed down. We're used to pressing a button on the phone, having food dropped off at our house. Now we don't know how to do anything.
Even with a few companies taking on the responsibility of providing for this whole population, we still have more than enough food, more than enough. Now imagine if every single part of America was used to create resources, which is what's the most important thing: food, clothing, You have more than enough. You can grow cotton. You can grow food in little pieces of land for the whole town. You don't have to do everything in one part of Mexico and burn the soil and and then tell people, oh, it's scarcity, scarcity. I cannot fathom, how do people buy this? How do they buy it?
Well, it's like Russia has unlimited resources. They have so much land. We could fit 3 United States inside Russia. And they in 1999 their government collapsed. Like, how does that happen? You know what I mean? They were communists at the time, so that's one reason. But it just goes to show you that the way nations think is like, it's off. It's not.
You know why they collapse? I think, and all these, and imperialists collapse, and America is on its downfall. It's on the fall right now. On the arc on the way down. It's because they want to expand and they want to take over somebody else's land. They want to take over. They can't just be self-sufficient, even though they can be so prosperous. The country, America, is the most amazing civilization to ever be built.
Speaking of taking over, let's go back to Palestine real quick. Let's talk about that real quick. So, what are you seeing over there that the media is not reporting?
Well, I've shared that one video from Congresswoman Newman, I believe.
I'm going to show that right now.
Yeah, please.
Stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, يا عمي. Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? Why are you yelling at me? I didn't do this.
But
it's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
Yeah, so that video alone, it blew my mind.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They can it doesn't take more than that video to understand what's going on in Palestine. The guy's literally telling her, if I don't steal it, someone else will. In what world? And then she goes, this is my house. You can't just come and steal my house. Well, don't blame me. If I leave now, you're going to leave anyway, and someone else is going to come take it. He's coming there like a vulture. He wants, I want to take your house. It looks from the video, it looks like this guy was a friend or a neighbor to these people, and they know each other on first name basis. Yeah. And she's telling him, are you crazy? Like, we've known each other. This is my house.
You know what's crazy? And that happened in America. That would be a viral video. And there would be protests and riots, and
God,
it'd be crazy.
People up in arms. That's unbelievable. That would be unheard of. Constitution, guns being pulled. Only in Palestine where this is okay. But this falls in line with Noahide laws, and you know what Noahide laws are.
Definitely.
If you want to speak about discrimination and people superiority. Making one race superior over the other, one group of people, it doesn't fit. Nobody fits the image better than those people over there in the Zionist agenda. They literally have it in their laws that it's okay for us to do that to the Gentiles. I'm not making this up. Everybody knows this. But
you can go on YouTube. You can find videos of Jews, and I'm not talking about
Talmud.
All
you
Jews.
Just pull up the Talmud and try to read a little bit of it, and then you'll be more than educated.
Yeah, just so I can throw this out there so someone doesn't flag my video as anti-Semitic. I'm not talking about all Jews. I'm just talking about but they do say crazy stuff like, "Oh yeah, we killed Jesus. We're proud of it."
You can't come in here. This is not your house.
This is not your house. We killed Jesus. We're proud of it.
Build the third temple. We will do animal sacrifices again, and God will give us the whole of Israel, all the way up to the Euphrates River and down to the Nile River. We'll have the greater Israel that we've always dreamed of, and we won't have to believe in Jesus to get it.
Yeah, the videos will show you that.
Yeah, the Gentiles are animals. They're not. They're going to be our slaves one day. They say that like there's
בגלל ביטול עבודות החוקית, אז נוצרו מגרעות עכשיו, כי אין אחריות על הנכס הזה. בעזרת השם זה יחזור. הם ירצו הגויים להיות עבדים שלנו.
זהו הרב.
You don't have to see videos. I'm telling you, just go read the Talmud. I'm not going to say any more than that. Just go read parts of the Talmud, and you'll be more than educated. Even though it's not allowed for us to, as a Gentile, you're not allowed to read the Talmud. It's considered a crime. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they only publish like parts of it through Penguin, whatever. And it's like just like selections, little parts of it. That's all you can get. The rest of it's in Hebrew, and you have to go to like a synagogue, or like a, what do you call it? What are the churches called?
Temples,
Temple.
synagogues?
Yeah, you go to like
yeah,
a
temple. So that video alone
or a
is
yeshiva, like a university for Jews.
Oh, I see. So that video alone is symbolic of what's been going on in Palestine since '48.
Yeah.
You know, at that video alone, I was mind blown. I knew this, but when I saw that, I was absolutely touched. I was like, I can't believe. And then as a human being, my natural instinct, I started boiling on the inside. I was like, how is this okay? How do people come and see this and not realize, oh, there's something up? The rhetoric is there's something up. I mean, there's no more. You can feel the sincerity in the conversation happening between that woman and that guy, Yaakov.
Yeah.
And what did you think when I sent you that video?
You know, I was disgusted by it, but I couldn't help but to think they think that they're justified because their Bible tells them that that's their land, and that's they need to have that land because the Bible says so.
See, let me interject here. I hate when people try to blame it on the Bible, because how I think, and we know how we think. The Bible has been taken by the powers that be, changed, manipulated, and you, the historian, you're the fact checker, you know this more than anybody else. How many versions have been printed, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And God knows what's been manipulated. So to come and blame the Bible for this, it's such, like, to me, it's almost blasphemy. I hate doing that. But yeah, the book that they came, and in the Quran, that book that claims it's never been changed, and that's the miracle of it. You won't find a different Quran going from East China to West America. It's all the same exact wording, and the miracle of it and the challenge is that you cannot change it. All human beings come and get together and try to change it. God has put it on himself to protect it. And it says in there, woe be to those who take the word of God and change it with their hands and reproduce it. It says it so clearly.
Yep.
You can hear the Quran playing in the background.
You can't change the word of God. You know what I mean? It's not for humans to change. So I wanted to show some pictures I got, some maps that I have of what happened. Is first, let me explain. In 1917, after World War I, the Ottoman Turkish Empire fell, and the British and the French is who beat them. Basically, it was like a pre-UN. It was like the League of Nations type of whatever it's called. I think it was the League of Nations at the time. So anyways, so what they did was they took Israel and Lebanon and North Africa, Egypt, most of the Middle East except for Iran. Iran was the only place that kept their own. Like Iran never. By the way, Iran's been pretty stout since the beginning of time. They've always been like pretty stout. Like
strong.
You can't mess with Iran. They're not play around with
Persians. Yeah.
Anyways, what happened was they divided up the land between French, English, and Italian, and a couple other places. So I'll show that right now, actually. So this is the Balfour Declaration, happened in 1917. After World War I, Palestine, freed from Ottoman rule, became British. Basically, that's a nice way of saying British took them over.
That was big.
So they ordered a declaration for support for a Jewish state. By 1948, this is what it looked like. No, I'm sorry, this is still 1917 right here. So they had the B zone, British influence, A zone, French influence, direct French control. So people in Lebanon, you know people in Lebanon, they speak French, right? It's a second language.
Oh yeah. So we were completely occupied, and it's a nice way of saying that we were occupied by the French. They were literally the invaders of our country. Yeah. So
it's crazy.
French is the second.
A lot of people don't even know that
language.
in America. People just think that Lebanon is its own country, but really it's not. Like, so then
so much influence from outside, unbelievable. Or else we would have had a decent country if it wasn't for that.
Yep. So by 1948, and this is a bunch of different dates actually, but if you look at Israel, it says 1948. Israel was established. But if you look down at the key, United Kingdom is yellow, France is blue, Italy is green, Spain is orange.
Divvy up the countries between them as if they're playing some sort of game.
They set up puppet states basically. So it looks like it's its own country, but really it's not. really they have to pay taxes to afford.
They're under the influence of that whoever the occupying country.
Yep, the only lands that kept their own sovereignty was Saudi Arabia, which is a very wealthy country, by the way. They had tons of oil they found. Iran, another very wealthy country, and then Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at those three countries, they don't get along at all, do they?
Oh, no, they do not. You're right.
And then we'll talk about that in a second. But here's Palestine in 1946, right before Israel became a nation. Within 2 years, they lost all this land. And then within 20 more years, they were down to this, and then just a little Gaza Strip. And now you see the little dots of land they own, and then the Gaza Strip, that's it. So
the Gaza Strip, you know, the story about Gaza is literally like a little, a small compacted place where they put all the Palestinians in, and they literally built a wall that's more than 10 feet high around. They barricaded the whole thing with a wall. It's like that movie, District B13, I swear. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's like, and that just shows you, looking at that last thing I showed you, that's proof that they don't even follow their own mandate from 1917, the Balfour Declaration. They don't, or 1946. They're not following that. They're just trying to slowly take away everything until there's nothing left.
The covenant breakers, what they've been called.
What do you think about What do you think about the two-state solution?
The two-state solution, like many people have said before, in theory, it'll never work. People have said that, but let's come and try to analyze it. First, you're coming to take part of Palestine away and give it to the Israelis, right? So you're literally taking land from somebody who's still alive, who's seeing this under, a huge chunk of people. Like, you're coming and taking their land and giving it to someone else who didn't even live here for as far as these people know, the ones that owned land. They came from nowhere. So people that say the story was they were persecuted in European countries, which is sad, and they should be compensated by the people who persecuted them. But no, we were persecuted in Europe and all that stuff. Let's take you out and let's give you, let's make it up for you. And then they call someone who's out not even in the game. Oh, we'll just give you that person's land. And then people are like, what? Palestine's like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, we're just gonna give them your land. Why? Nobody knows why. You just send them in. You start shipping them in on boats, and that's how convenient that the British mandate they took over Palestine, and then it was so convenient for them to bring in on shipments the Israelis, the Zionists, and slowly start packing them in there, and then gave them guns and gave them all this stuff. And there are videos even worse than that Yaakov video. There are videos and images and stories from old Palestinians who are still alive of and black and white images where they go in and they're at gunpoint dragging people out of their houses and taking over. That's how bad. That one is a little more civil, a little more easy to digest because they're coming with paperwork, with legalese, with God knows if it's real or not. They can fake anything you want. They're coming with paperwork. Oh, we took over this through court. We're taking it. Back then, no, it was at gunpoint. They're coming, dragging people out. There's a story that stuck with me since I was a kid. This old Palestinian woman telling the story of so there's the soldiers, the Israeli soldiers came in, dragged them out, and had her son at gunpoint in front of her, and she was crying, pleading him, please, here. And she takes out all this money and gives it to him. Please take all this money. Just leave us alone. We'll leave. And he takes the money and he says, "You're a good woman. Look what I'm gonna do." Takes the money, shoots her son anyway, and leaves her. And he leaves with the money and everything. I'll never forget that story. And you can see the tears in that woman's eyes when she's saying that story. And when one person has been subjected to that, what will you come and say? I don't care that they did it to a whole country. Just one person. If you have a country built on just that one act, that's it. That country literally has evil in this foundation. It will not last. The
fact that person got away with that and didn't get arrested and thrown in jail, that makes the country itself guilty of that.
Guilty, yeah. One person being persecuted is more than enough to condemn the whole movement. And yeah, of course, they're protected by whatever.
I'm going to show a clip real quick. I'm going to show a clip real quick.
Our general point that Jews are not Zionists and Zionists are not Jews. The Zionist state does not represent Torah through Jews. It is against, its existence is against the Torah, against Jewish law. Our second point today here is more in details that they do digging up the graves of our sages because of their atheistic beliefs, their desecration of the holy grave sites, their desecration of everything that's holy and dear to us, their behavior and hostility of their police and their government against Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox Jewish people.
All right, what I just showed was right now the what do they call it? Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn, New York, are pro-Palestine. Even they're saying enough is enough. This is not. They're literally walking around New York with Palestine flags draped around them. And if you talk to them, like do an interview with them, they'll say that Zion movement is not Israel. That's Satan. That's what they say. They don't want any part of that. And they even say that they're going to fail eventually. They think that Israel's going to fall. I'm like, wow, these are other Jews talking about how bad it is over there.
It's nothing new. This has been since I remember this from decades ago. That there are Jews that always spoke against, and they always have those banners. Judaism does not equal Zionism.
Right.
Those are two different things. We
of Jewish belief. Jews are forbidden to create a sovereign homeland for themselves. We are in exile by divine decree and commanded by the Almighty to be loyal citizens in the countries where we reside. Killing, stealing, occupying another's land, or oppressing an entire people is totally forbidden in Jewish religion. The state of Israel is illegitimate and criminal. It is a rebellion against God.
Different things. We do not have the right to go and create a state of Israel in Palestine. We do not, and they separate themselves. They say out loud and clear that no, this is not okay. Our books don't tell us. Our books tell us that we do not have the right to be there anymore. All that stuff. And like a scholar just said, one of the resistance leaders just said, they know. Those people in power, they know. Their prophecies tell them Israel has never lasted more than 70 to 80 years, and they're on the brink right now. They're getting very close to that, the end of the state of. They've never lasted more than that, and they know in their prophecies that they're going to fall. And their books tell them that, but yet they just keep going forward with it.
Read the Old Testament. If you read it, like all of it, like not just the David and Goliath, like the glory moments. If you read the prophets. Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Daniel, the Lord, Hashem, he is super hard on, like he talks about Israel as like being stiff-necked and doom is going to come on you if you keep sinning and all this. Like he is tough. He is tough on them. So,
yes. In the Quran too. In the Quran, he says, literally it says that we have favored you over the rest of the world, sons of Israel. We have favored you. We have given you all these. There's these sweets that came from heaven. We gave you that. We gave you money. We gave you status. We gave you land. We gave you, and you still. It gets to a point where they and it tells you in the Quran over and over and over. They made Prophet Moses, peace be upon him. They made him sick. after he took them out of Egypt, split the sea, opened the sea, they walked to the sea, they got to the other side. Once they're out of the the trouble, the danger, then they go back to their old ways, and then they start blaspheming again. They wanted to get that the calf and then worship the calf, and then at one point they even told them, "We want to see. We know we don't care. We want to see God in person." And that's how much they blasphemed. They made them sick.
Yeah.
And after all that, they still wanted to raise and be bigoted and take over the world and enslave the rest of humanity.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. You can live in peace on your own. You don't have to enslave the rest of humanity. But no, they can't. They literally cannot. The Zionist movement is built on the death and the bloodshed of innocents. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. They cannot settle themselves in a place without causing and wreaking havoc. They can't.
Yeah.
Just study their existence, their history. Why were they kicked out of Europe? I mean, I know people don't get into that a lot, but talk about from the European point of view. Why were they kicked out?
Well, a lot. So the Christian Holy Roman Empire, or whatever you want to call it, in the medieval times, they would send them into ghettos because they didn't want them to be around Christians, because they would tell Christians, "Oh, that the whole Jesus movement, he never resurrected." They just didn't want the two to talk at all and like convince each other, or you know what I'm saying. So they try to keep them separate. Or in the 1300s, I forgot the name of the emperor. I think it was like Frederick or something. I think it was Frederick. He went through all the Jewish cities. One of them was Lawford, Germany, and he forced everybody to convert to Catholicism. So like they just had it rough there. They just didn't actually. What's so ironic about the situation was the Ottomans in the 1500s were the only place that the Jews were allowed to live freely. The Muslims let them live among them and treated them good, treated them peacefully, treated them like brothers. And like it's crazy because people don't think that. People think that
in Iran now.
People think that Jews and Muslims always
Jews
hate
in the parliament.
Right. So that's mind blowing.
And then you have also in Palestine, that woman, they used to say, the Arabs used to say, we used to live as neighbors. We used to put our kids, our Jewish neighbors' house, and then have them stay there while we go out. If we wanted to go visit somebody, they would babysit them for us. And this was back in the day. Yeah, there was peace. As long as you're sitting here peacefully, we are not allowed as Muslims. You're not allowed to trespass or to demonize or persecute. You're not allowed. You're not even allowed to persecute a tree, much less, than a human being who's Jewish. And so, yeah, how about the Christians? Christians, who do they say killed Jesus? We don't believe that Jesus died at all, thank God, But I'm talking about the Christians' point of view. Who do they believe killed Jesus?
They say it was the Jews. And then the Spanish Inquisition, they didn't just kill Jews or persecute Jews, they persecuted Muslims too in Spain. But yeah, that's what they said. The Christians.
All these little these little bits and pieces of information, man. And but then NLP, neural listening programming comes in like, oh, anti-Semitic. I'm not allowed to talk about this. No. I'm not allowed to say this stuff. It's like that video I sent you just yesterday or the day before about the guy who said who controls the media, and literally the anchor called him. He says that's an anti-Semitic remark. That's an anti-Semitic.
Israel is losing out. They're losing the media war despite their connections. They are losing the media war. The tide is turning.
What are their connections?
Deep pockets.
What does that mean?
Well, they're very influential people. I mean, they control media.
I would call that an anti-Semitic remark.
Well, you see, the point is they have a lot of influence.
Remark. How? Who did he insult? He just stated a fact. Go Google it. Google will tell you. And you just Google the biggest media companies.
Yeah.
And who owns them. They don't hide it. But no, just mentioning Just mentioning it will deem you as an anti-Semitic. Unbelievable. What brain and logic?
Hide behind that shield, that anti-Semitic shield, and like you can't say anything. You can't just state something that you saw, or not, like it's not like we're talking about all Jews. We're not talking about every Jew in the world. We're talking about one specific event that happened. And they're like, oh, he happens to be Jewish, so you're anti-Semitic. It's like, no, I'm not.
No, yeah, you're not allowed. See, that's the part of the Noahide laws, is that you're not allowed to state or accuse them of any wrongdoing. And it literally says whether true or false. Whether true or false.
That's crazy.
Yeah, whether true. You're not allowed to say it. You're just not allowed. What logic? What world do you live in where that's okay?
Yeah, that's crazy. So
maybe it's not Noahide laws, but it's part of.
The reason why I asked about the reason why I asked you about the two-state solution is because everybody over here seems to be supportive of it. Like it's some great idea, but it's like, imagine if we had a two-state solution in America. Like no one would like that. Like why can't there be Palestine, Israel, just be one country with a constitution that makes everybody equal? Palestinian vote is the same as a Jewish vote, and then you get to elect because that would take power away from Israel. That's why they're scared.
Yeah.
But I think that's the right thing to do. I think it's been long enough. It's been almost 100 years.
But they were never serious about it. They were never serious about it.
But what I'm saying is, like, it's been almost 100 years. Israel's bought tons of property and land and businesses, and they got enough power now where they can now, if they made it a constitutional republic, they'd be fine, and everybody would be equal. I think that's the solution. Constitutional republic, democracy. You know what I mean? It's the only thing that ever works everywhere. Two-state solution.
So in the same breath, they tell you two-state solution, but I mean, if you go and study or just analyze for a little bit, they were never serious about it. Every time they get close, something happens and they take it away. They take more land. They do not want a two-state solution. They just put that out there just to keep delaying, postponing. In the end, they have to. There are some books that they have tell them you have to kick everybody out. You have to take over this. You have to You have to destroy the Aqsa Mosque. Solomon's temple. Basically, you have to build the third temple in order for the Mashiach to come back. All that stuff.
Right.
That's just the law about. I said that was a Noahide law. It was an IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. That's where that comes from, where you're not allowed to accuse them of any wrongdoing, whether true or false. So I just want to put that out to correct that. So back to the two-state solution. I mean, it's in an ideal world, maybe if you do give them the two-state solution, you will still be persecuting and taking the rights away from Palestinians. Say, okay, well, let's go along with that. It's not happening. It's only getting worse. You see how small Gaza has the Palestinian lands have become, and they're getting smaller and smaller, and they're not going to stop there. They're going to keep going, pushing.
That's the whole point of having a two-state
solution. Until they kick everybody out.
Right. That's why they did that, Because if there was a constitutional republic, then everybody would have equal shots.
So if they wanted to. So how I don't know if you know about how politics things run in Israel right now. It's called very famously. It's called the apartheid state, right?
Yeah, Africa.
You know what that means?
It's like when you literally have different laws for different people, different races.
Yeah, just like America back in the day when it had the segregation.
Right.
Literally, that's how. Yeah, different laws apply to Palestinians versus Jews. And unbelievably different laws. It's like they're less than animals on this end. The Palestinians are treated less than animals. They have to go through their own lines of unbelievable, hectic and harassing and searching and delaying, and they have to go all these while the Palestinians just come and walk in. I mean, the settlers just come and walk in as if there's nothing. There's a video that I will share with you actually that I just saw about that little neighborhood that they were where Yaqub was trying to take the house.
Where was that?
It's called Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. Sheikh Jarrah. It's one of the reasons why the whole conflict started, the 11-day conflict.
One of those little dots that I showed, probably?
Yeah, one of the little dots that you showed.
That's great.
I believe. So right now, as soon as the ceasefire was brokered by Egypt just now after this 11-day incursion, they started again. They started assaulting people in the Aqsa Mosque, who were just prayers, who were people trying to worship in their mosque. They started assaulting them again, and they went back to that neighborhood, and they're trying to make life hell for the landowners, for the Palestinians, so that they would want to get up and leave. They keep worsening and worsening the conditions, so that at the end they're like, oh, they got up and left on their own. Well, yeah, after you made their life hell.
Right.
So I'll send you a video of what it's like just now, where it shows
definition of persecution. It's literally defined. That's what persecution literally is.
Yeah. I mean, who accepts, in what world do you accept an apartheid, discriminatory state where you treat the same a human being and a human being on the same soil in the same spot? You treat him one way and him another just because of what they belong to or how they think.
Yeah, and like, you know, United States is a ally of Israel, so the media over here doesn't really talk about it in that light. They don't tell you that. They just tell you that Hamas fired a rocket. That's it. That's all you hear about.
Yeah, Hamas fired rockets. Yep. Hamas fired rockets, and we're defending ourselves. Hamas was throwing stones just about a decade ago. You know, people forget that or just don't even know. And now that they have rockets, now, you know, it's just like the leader, certain leaders here, the axis of resistance, as they call themselves. They say Zionism only understand the language of force. They do not understand democracy. You know, do not sit down and give and take, converse. No, only the language of force will get you what you are ought to be having, your rights when it comes to Zionism. And they won't, unless the Palestinians, because Palestinians were throwing stones back then, and they started the stabbings. That's why they're still there, or else they would have been wiped out completely. They would have been completely ousted.
Yeah. You got that video yet, or you still looking
I'm
for
gonna
it?
send it to you right now.
All right. So what I was gonna say, I was gonna ask you about Iran and Saudi Arabia. They're sworn enemies right now. The Shia and the Sunni Muslims, basically. That's basically what it is, right?
Well, no. You see, that's a misrepresentation of it. That's what they want you to. That's what they portray in the media. They want people to think there's a Shia-Sunni conflict because that serves Israel so well. Divide and conquer. No, the Shia is actually, you gotta give them credit. They have worked so hard to dispel that and bring the brother Sunnis together, together with them on the conversation table to unite. Tell them, let's put our differences aside. The whole Muslim nation is in jeopardy. We have to put our differences aside. We have to get together in order so that we don't all lose. You know. So what it is, I mean, is it any secret that Saudi Arabia and Israel are like best buddies? They've been telling us the axis of resistance have been telling us Saudi Arabia is serving Israel for decades.
Oh, yeah, most people don't know that Saudi Arabia is really one of the biggest allies of Israel.
Yeah, for decades. But now, just recently, with all the what do they call them? The naturalization of ties, the peace treaties between the Gulf states and Israel, which is a joke because when have they ever been at war? You know, when have any of the Gulf states even lifted a sword in the face of Zionism? Never.
You know what? When they made that peace deal, the UAE deal, I remember thinking that in my head, like, I didn't know the UAE had a problem with Israel. Like, whatever. I guess it's okay to make a peace deal, though.
Yeah, right. There was never a problem.
I really thought that, though. I was like, what? Why them? Why not Saudi Arabia and Iran? You know what I mean? Like, that would be a good peace deal, but that'll never happen.
Yeah, good thing that you caught that. You know, most people don't even know. I sent you the video.
I got it.
So yeah, a peace treaty where there was never a war, and Saudi Arabia has openly been calling for, even in Lebanon. You know, that's a topic that hits home. They have tried to get Israelis to wage war, and they told Israelis that we don't, because the Israelis were voicing concern that, oh, war is so costly and we can't afford, and Saudi Arabia literally came out to say, we will cover all the costs of the war. You just go in there and wipe out. You just wage this war and we'll cover the costs.
I'm about to pull up that video right now.
يعني هون كما شفنا هذا جاي مستوطن بده يفوت تم ارساله عادي ما في ولا اي مشكله.
Just run down what you just saw for the people that might not understand what they just looked at.
It's showing how in that same neighborhood that we got out of the 11-day incursion because people were being persecuted there, the Palestinians, Yaqub, where he's trying to take away his neighbor's house. So they're trying to tighten the noose on the Palestinians in that area by not allowing them to go back into that neighborhood peacefully without, putting up a wall, a hassle, harassment. They don't let you just walk in back into your land. As you can see, the settlers just come in and tell them, oh, they figure out they're settlers, and then they walk back in so easily. But then when the landowners or the generalists come to show what's going on, they get refused, rejected, turned away. Probably they go through a very extensive searching operation, delaying. Basically, what kind of a life is it where if you want to go back to your house, you have to go through all that harassment? Who would want to live like that? Of course, the Palestinians are going to be like, oh, I'm sick of it. I mean, good on them that they're still patiently enduring this. And then if they do get out and they're like, oh, we're sick of this, we leave, this is no life. And they say, oh, we acquired this land, so democratic, we bought it from them. That's what they'll tell you.
Yeah, that's the opposite of equality of opportunity. That's inequality of opportunity. How could you get ahead when you're against that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just one.
You can't go to your house in peace. You can't literally. You have to go through so many hoops and loops to get to your house. And forget about going to open a business and all that stuff. And I know actually someone told me that he was in America. Actually, he told me about his grandfather who was still in Palestine. They call it Israel. He was in a neighborhood that has been bought out almost completely by the Israelis, and they had offered. He told me he had a small little shop left, and he's so persecuted. His business has dwindled down so badly, and they don't give him the licenses. They don't give him the easiness of business operations that they give to the Israelis. And they've offered him, he told me, tens of millions of dollars to leave, but he will not leave. That's his form of resistance. He says, if I leave, what good am I? What am I going to take money, some shekels to sell out on? It's like they sold out on Jesus,
Yeah, and I'm sure it's harder to get a loan if you're a Palestinian. I'm sure it's easier to get a loan if you're a Jew.
You can get millions. If he would sell, he would get millions of dollars. But no, he does not want to. He literally does not. This is the land of his parents. They've had that store for generations, and they're just slowly trying to make hell for them so that they leave. And they go, oh yeah, you see, we just bought it from them. Yeah, they sold it to us. It's the paperwork has his signature. What kind of it's like the old West, the old Wild West, when they come to you with the gun pointed at your head, sign here, we're gonna buy your land from you for $1, but I don't want to sell the land, and they you have no choice. Shoot you and they take your thumb
and then later on they'll say, oh, it's legal. We got the legal.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's legalese. That's how they use legalese to their advantage. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, man. But that's why I wanted to have you on, man, just because I talk to you pretty often, and I hear what's going on over there, and I check out the news, and I'm like, that doesn't add up. That's not what's happening. I actually know people over there right now that are staring at with their own eyes at what's happening, and I got my United States media telling me something that's exact opposite. So I'm already used to that. So I already knew that was dirty. I already know that the media is dishonest. So I'm not surprised at all about that.
Yeah. And like you said, the groups that represent this, the whole Muslim thing and how Islam is portrayed as a terrorist religion and all that stuff. I saw, what was it?
I'm not even gonna cut you off. What were you saying?
Yeah, how Islam was portrayed as a terrorist religion and all that stuff. I saw a really nice posting on social media the other day where it says, "I am a Muslim. I get killed in Palestine. I get killed in Syria. I get killed in Lebanon. I get killed in Bahrain. I get killed in Burma. I get killed in Rohingya. I get killed in China and all that stuff. But I'm the terrorist." It's unbelievable. The upside down invertedness of this world.
I was just gonna say too is that here in America, right? So when conservatives thought that the election was hacked and that Biden won by hacking the voting machines, you remember when that happened, right?
Yeah.
They were ready to take up arms and fight for their country, and like that's patriotic. That's cool. That's okay. That's acceptable. But like, if it's in another country, if it's in a Muslim country, and they want to take up arms and defend themselves and fight for their freedom and fight for their liberty, that's terrorism. You see how one from one point of view it becomes patriotic, the other point of view it becomes terrorist. That's mind blowing. That's a double standard right there. People need to understand that it's a double standard. It really is.
What it is people have put on
listen. I'm going to say this before you can close out and say what you want to say at the end. But I'm not pro-Palestine or pro-Israel. I'm pro-justice. I'm pro-truth. That's why I'm doing this podcast. That's all it is. If it was the other way around, I'd be talking about, hey, what's going on with Palestine? Why are they persecuting the Jews? But it's just not what it is right now.
In a court of justice, you are supposed to listen to both sides of the argument, but we don't get both sides. We only get one side. And it's so obvious to just wake up and realize that what you're seeing is only one side of the argument. Well, of course, sometimes I bet you they do this, and I don't watch news, but I bet you they bring in some Palestinian who starts talking, and of course he's belligerent or something, and he starts saying this and that, and they pay someone to come in and portray himself as a Muslim or a Palestinian and spew the words that he says, and people are like, oh, that's horrible. What kind of
that's one of the
they're so good at that.
One of the dirty tricks of propaganda. That's how they do it. That's what they do every.
They're so good at that, and then people buy it. People buy like, oh yeah, this guy is representative of the whole world of Islam or the whole world of Palestine, and it's so easy to pay someone to come and do this, man. It's unbelievable, unbelievable.
But
yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask you if you wanted anything else you wanted to add in that maybe you forgot to say, or got another video you want to show or something like that, or just whatever.
So you were talking about the Muslim and how Trump himself said Hillary and Obama, they created ISIS. You can find that YouTube video on YouTube very easily. General Wesley Clark says very clearly, he's a retired general in the United States. It's on YouTube also, that there was a whole plan to take down 6 or 7 countries, starting with Iraq and then Sudan and Syria and Lebanon and he asks, why are we doing this? Like, I don't know. And the guy tells him, I don't know, but that's what we decided. And then in another clip by General Wesley Clark, he says, yeah, we brought ISIS in to defeat their resistance in Lebanon, Hezbollah. He literally says because they didn't want, and what it is, they didn't want to take on the fight themselves, so they would rather bring in these radical criminals that God knows where they got them from. They got them out of some people say they were taken out of prisons and then given all this money and promised all this land and women, and you just go there, you wreak havoc, you just do this, follow this and that, that's ISIS for you, and then you get all this wealth and And literally, that's what they were doing here. They came here, they got to the border of Lebanon, they took over Syria and Iraq, and they were stealing people's houses. They were taking people out of their houses. They were, you heard about the beheadings, the killing of families, just the execution of hundreds, if not thousands at a time, taking the women away, and under the guise of this is allowed in Muslim warfare rules. No Muslim warfare. There's no Islam warfare by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny. Tell you, you're not even allowed to cut down a tree in war. Not even allowed to cut down a tree. You're not allowed to poison a river. They did all that. They cut down trees. They destroyed museums. They destroyed mosques. Who are their number one victims? Muslims. They literally are building the state of Islam, ISIS. The state of Islam. ISIS is like Israel when it comes to Judaism. ISIS to Islam is Judaism, Zionism to Judaism. The Islamic State, just like the Israeli state, Islamic State in Syria, in the Levant. So they came in, and who were they building this Islamic State on the bodies of whom? Of their brothers. Not even, they wanted to kill Shias, of course, but most of their victims were Sunnis, who they portray themselves as part of. It doesn't make sense. What world? And then, people in the West, the average, they come and tell you, oh yeah, it's because they're so barbaric. It's because they're so behind. They're so stupid and undereducated. It doesn't work that way. People are human beings everywhere you go, and we all have minds. And if something does not add up, you don't just dismiss them as crazy. You find the loopholes in what you don't just dismiss it. Oh, they're all crazy. Oh, we're just gonna drop a bomb in the Middle East, and I've heard that many times, of course. Just drop a bomb in the Middle East and finish it all and have civilization. Or like the person who used to tell me, I used to have these conversations with someone who worked at the DMV. It's funny. And we started going into Israel-Palestine conflict, and he says, and I got to him, how do you justify coming and taking a land by force at gunpoint and giving it to other people, and then discriminating against those people, and saying that these people are better than these and all that? And then we got to a point where we just got heated, and we stopped talking about it. And then later on, I come back weeks later, and he goes, you know what, I was thinking about what you said the other day, but I wanted to tell you, the Palestinians, man, they're not civilized. They don't deserve that land. They didn't do anything with that land, they're not doing anything good with it, so they don't deserve it. That's how low he had to bring himself down to justify, because he refuses to acknowledge and accept his internal compass, this godly given compass of justice and equality. He refuses to listen to it, so he has to use his brain to jump over hurdles and obstacles in order to justify that, yeah, we should give them, this is the right, because he does not want to be wrong or unthink what he already thinks. It's like you always tell me, I don't extract lessons based on my bias. I try to look at it without any bias, as not pro-Palestinian, not pro-Israeli, but pro-justice. But that's what people are not doing, and they're absolutely, it's like I was saying, people are under a spell, man. People are absolutely under a spell. People are not, when you say the word Holocaust, or you say something, you say the word Jew, their antenna, something just raises the hair on the back of their necks raises up, and they're like, oh, there's something wrong right now. They've been programmed and brainwashed to not even be allowed themselves to think anyway. And you're not allowed to talk. This. I don't know if you know this, but one of the things you're not allowed to talk about or criticize or question is the Holocaust. I'm not saying that to question or not, but you're not allowed to. What world do we live in where you're not allowed to talk about a certain topic? This is censorship at its best. In Islam itself, it tells you.
You should be able to talk about anything as long as you're not being.
Anything. Islam itself, they say Islam is a extremist religion. Well, how about this? Imam Ali, peace be upon him, has said, do not inherit your religion. Do not take on the religion just because your parents did it. Do not go into, don't be a Muslim without knowing what Islam is. Go and learn about it and like the Quran tells you, no compulsion in religion. Don't go and be compulsed. Don't go and think, oh, I have to do. No, go understand why. Until your heart knows and understands, then you can become a Muslim. And But up until then, you're not really a Muslim. And what benefit it is? It's no benefit. God is not benefited by you becoming a Muslim or praying. No, it's for your own good. Go and understand before you inherit a religion or an ideology. Delve deep. Dare to question. Dare to delve deep. Dare to open your mind and turn on the gears of your mind. But literally, since the beginning of time, this has been the way that the elites keep the masses down. They keep them dumbed down. They keep them compartmentalized. They don't allow them to think outside this box. They created a box for them, and they said, "You're not allowed to step outside here." This is what, and they feed them this. This has been the problem. This has been
You're entertained with the maskless singer and shows like that, American Idol. Like, people are just like,
oh, entertainment, man. Oh, that's Satan's best weapon, entertainment. You know,
that's how you keep people distracted from what's actually happening in the world. Like, just,
and when they do
people over here
open their eyes,
living so high over here, everyone's just watching American Idol all day, and no one really cares.
Unbelievable. See, everything's inverted. They think they're living high, but what it really is, on a transcendence frequency, they're living at the bottomest, lowest of the rung of transcendence and happiness and spirituality. You're at entertainment, bodily functions, bodily needs are at the lowest. You know, keeping your mouth fed and your brain occupied at the bottom, occupied with something other than internal thinking, internal meditation, trying to think from inside out, not from outside in.
Right.
They don't let you sit down and think or meditate. There's literally not a moment where you can be at a place where everything has shut up. There's silence, so you can start thinking from inside. No, that's why America is so crazy with logos and symbolism and billboards, advertising. Everywhere you go, there's music playing. They literally have to. And I live in this country for now. Unbelievable. All I hear since the beginning of the day, I was going to send you this little clip of in the morning, you don't hear anything other than crickets, frogs, birds. Unbelievable. You don't hear a car going back and forth. You sit there and you really start, unbelievably, you start thinking from inside out. So, oh, wow.
And I remember you telling me also at nighttime you can look up and see all the stars in the Milky Way.
Oh, the stars, man. It's
over
beautiful.
Here, in the cities, like in Buffalo or any city, there's so much light being, so much like fluorescent light.
Another reason for
blocks off the sky completely. We don't see this. We
for
only see
the
big
concrete
stars.
jungle. You know, where you cannot, your sight literally cannot stretch. You can't stretch your sight, much less stretch your muscles and go on. You know, it's all systematic, man. Nothing.
Matrix.
Where we have become, you can tell that where we have become is systematically against us and for our disadvantage, not for our benefit, because of how bad of all the symptoms that we have gotten, all the mental illness, and all the disadvantages, all how badly our lives are becoming. Our life is only good when we watch TV. TV is what glorifies everything that we're doing. But if you come and think about it, if you turn the TV up and really look inside, you're like, what the heck am I doing? I've never had a moment of silence, never to come and think and contemplate what's going on. My life is passing by and I never even sat down to think. It all ties down, ties together with Palestine, all that.
People need movies and TV shows to escape reality because
you think of. I stopped watching movies, man.
We're like enslaved. We're enslaved by these like mega corporations. It's only jobs that are available: Walmart, Target jobs, and then we get these 9-to-5 jobs. We have little apartments. It's like,
thank God, you know,
I'm okay with that. People are just okay with it. And then
thank God that I stopped watching. Like we took out on a little agreement, my wife and I, that we stopped watching Hollywood movies and stuff, and we don't have a TV at home. And you know, now I'm looking back, how the heck every movie is 2 to 3 hours long? How many books, how many pages can you read? How much knowledge can you gain? 2 to 3 hours long. They just go like this, and you wake up, and you're like, where the heck did the time go? The movie went by so quickly. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a good point, dude.
It's literally, we talk about how do we make time go by quickly, especially when we're traveling, because we hate traveling so much. Planes. Let's watch a movie. It makes time go by faster. It makes life go by, and you're like, what just happened? You don't really realize what happened. Unbelievable, man.
That's crazy.
our lives are passing by, and one of the things they tell us that you will be so regretful at your deathbed or at the day of judgment is the time that was wasted. The time that was wasted on nothing. Nothing. If you go back and at the end of the day and you just revise what you did throughout the day, what benefit have you done to humanity, to yourself, to your family? What knowledge have you gained? Just sit down and see what part of the day that you did was beneficial, and you will be dumbfounded. You will start shaking. Honestly, I almost want to cry. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in such a loop of wasting time.
Yeah, man. That's like where everybody's just chasing the next dopamine hit.
Dopamine hit. Social media. Oh my God, I forgot about social media.
I got 10 likes on this post.
Oh man,
it's crazy. The world we live in now is just like it's the Matrix. It really is. It's what it is.
It ties into the Palestinian conflict. I know. For someone who's new, who's listening to me now, it's kind of so far-fetched, but it all ties in. It's all been one long and big plan by Satan to enslave humanity, to drive people towards bad, and it all adds up. If you come and contemplate, turn the TV off, and every day, just meditate a little bit and start thinking about where we are now and how things ought to be, what's important, what's real, what's physical in front of me, and what's virtual. Like, am I getting my knowledge from the screen? It's like the whole corona, the whole COVID thing. It only exists on TV and media, man. If you turn it off and you don't have any outside influence, you would never know.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've thought about that so many times. Nothing in my life has changed because I don't have TV. Nothing is, until I go and I'm next to other people who are constantly watching the TV. I make people turn off the TV when they go into their houses, you know? And then they're like, what? Some of them come and visit me at home and they're like, what do you guys do here? It's so quiet. There's no TV. Yeah, literally, man. You get to sit and
quiet. Meditation, read books. Like, there's a lot of things you do without TV. Go outside, kick a ball around. I can think of a million things on the spot right now.
Just walk, just think, sit down and my wife was telling me one of the forgotten and the missed, the lacking skills of today is being able to sit down in silence alone for just a few minutes.
That's so true.
And then truth, you know, like that's another thing with this whole Palestinian-Israeli and all conflicts of the world. Truth has a way of showing itself. Truth rings true. Truth will cause you to have this internal conflict because we've been brainwashed, of course, with false information. As soon as truth comes in, you literally get shaken and you get mind blown. You get this epiphany and you like this starry-eyed gaze of, oh my gosh. Truth will show itself. You don't need to come and brainwash yourself to accept truth. You need the opposite, though. You need constant brainwashing in media in order to be programmed and to accept falsehood. You need propaganda, like George Bush said. Propaganda is when you keep repeating something until it becomes true. Truth, you only need to say it once or twice, and it rings true. And that's how beautifully the world works. The world, you know, the world that God gave us.
Was that a plane?
Yeah. What was that?
Was that a plane that went by?
No, it's a scooter. A little scooters.
Oh.
They're so famous here, man. So God created it so that truth shows itself. You know, you only need a matchstick. You can have a whole world of darkness, a huge room of darkness. You need a matchstick, a little flame to show light, but you can't bring darkness into a room that's full of light already. You know. Yeah. You know, it's. I'm not just saying this to be, what did they say, lofty.
Everything you just said you crushed it. Like, that was really good. Like, I might make that a clip right there.
You don't need to be lofty. This is literally how the world works. Everything copies. Nature copies itself, and the law of nature is the law of existence. But because of TV, because of this screen, and because you don't leave that screen, you can't just blame the screen. You literally buy your own oblivion. You buy your own demise. Because you keep yourself glued to the screen, you will never see truth, because the screen is false. The screen even portrays things. It even has the flickering light in the background that causes you to go into this state of induced hypnosis.
An illusion.
Illusion, yes. It doesn't take that much. You don't need to be. You don't need to have a PhD to come and to figure this out. Turn off the TV for 1 week, and then come back and Just journal you don't have to journal. Just turn off the TV and then come back to it and see. It doesn't take that much. They have to work. Satan and his minions and all these imperialists have to work so hard in order to get us to where we are today. But it's just like, I can't believe that we are. It's like one time I was in the middle of the summer, and in the night I didn't want to turn the light on so I don't bother my wife. And we were sleeping. We were in a very small apartment, like a 2-room apartment. So I turned this little flashlight on and go around and get my things done. I have to, pray in the middle of the night, and it's still dark out. So I go to this to the sink, and there's the window, and above the window there's all these unbelievably huge amount of bugs. These big-eyed bugs that look like mosquitoes, but they're not. They're like kind of dumb bugs. There were so many of them, and I was shining the light. I was, okay. I put the light up on the window, and I swear to you, in swarms, like masses, they start migrating to the light. Oh my God! I start moving the light, in swarms. They're going towards the light, this LED light. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is what happens to us when they show us this flickering light LCD screen.
That's so.
I wish this is not. You can try this in the middle of summer. This is what happened in Buffalo. Try it and then see, and then think to yourself, okay, these dumb bugs, we're a little more complicated and we're a little more, intelligent. But think of the light. We are attracted to the light. We are this flickering screen. What is it other than a stupid light?
Right. It doesn't give you any food. Doesn't give you
artificial light. It's not natural light.
It's like some illusion that they're the bugs.
Yeah. Bugs that come towards the light and they get zapped. It's so symbolic of us.
Like our phones. We're always looking at our phones. Always going down on our phones. It's the same thing.
Unbelievable, man. Oh my gosh. And the phones just keep getting smarter and smarter. They vibrate and they call you out. Now Alexa calls you and talks to you and tells you, oh, don't forget.
Tells you how to get around,
distracted.
how to get from point A to point B and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this whole
theory.
Unbelievable. My recommendation is for everybody to leave America for just a little bit, just to see how the world is, or just turn out. You don't even need to leave America. Go into the wilderness a little bit. Turn off the TV where you are for a little bit, and just think from inside out as opposed to outside in. As opposed to keep thinking that happiness or I need to be occupied from outside in. Start letting it come from inside out, and then come back.
That was that was really good, man.
It all ties in, though. I know we went on a tangent, but it all ties in.
It all ties in because we're talking about truth and liberty and justice, and
that is across the board.
But
one and all,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do, man?
I'll just close out and say this. My personal opinion is I really think that Palestine, Israel, whatever you want to call it, that land needs a constitutional republic. That's what it needs for everyone to
justice.
Justice, yeah.
Not an apartheid state.
No,
they will not accept. They will not.
That's crazy talk. That's apartheid. Like you said, that is apartheid.
Definitely. Yeah, and the thing is, the axis of resistance here, I've already said, we're done. Israel is done. You're gonna see, like the leader of Iran has said. The leader is different from the president of Iran, just so everybody knows. The leader is a spiritual leader, and he's like, people go to him before taking a final decision on certain things. So he has said in 2015 in an interview, and I sent you those, the Google search. You just go put in leader of Iran 2015 interview, says Israel will not be around for the next 25 years. And he's been talking almost daily, a weekly basis now, and saying, look at them. They have never been as weak as they are today. They are on the way down. Truth will prevail. Look at how far they can't even take on the Palestinians in that little bit of Gaza left that's bordered by water and them. They can't take on that little bit of Gaza left. What are they going to do when the axis of resistance, which includes Lebanon and Syria and Iran and Iraq and Yemen, decide they all wanted to engulf? It's the time to engulf Israel. They will not withstand. Within hours it will be done. So people need to.
Time will tell. We will see what the truth will prevail. It's always what happens. So.
Yeah, it's really time will tell.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, dude. You're natural at this, dude. You could do it. We should do this more often.
Yeah. We'll have part 2 and part 3, God willing.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you soon, man.
بنشو مי פחדן? מי פחדן? יא בנשו מי פחדן? יופי
What did he do? Why are you arresting the boy? What did the boy do? He's just a child. What did the boy do? Why are you arresting?
Are you Arabic?
Yeah, I'm Palestinian.
So the lie of the Palestinian you are. The lie of the Palestinian. All of the Palestinian is like you.